Yeah, good morning. In a minute, I am recording already, so you'll see that this will go on YouTube and you'll get a link to it afterwards. We're going to go through half an hour, reasonably quick fire around Microsoft Forms. I'll share my screen in a minute. I'm an hour ahead because I'm based in Germany. So I'll share my screen now. If you do have questions, probably the best way to deal with it is as we go through the session, let's not shout up during it because we only have 30 minutes. So either stick them in the chat or at the end, write them down, and at the end we'll deal with the questions. I think last time me and Rich spent maybe 15 minutes with a few people afterwards answering questions and queries. Yeah. So if you don't know about Teams chat, if you haven't used it much, I know we're kind of used to these things now. That button up here where it says show conversation, open that up, and in there's a little chat box, and Andy or Rich will be able to deal with your queries there. So let's just minimize that and get back to my desktop. Microsoft Forms is part of your Microsoft 365 subscription, and as these days they're not doing everything, but they're doing lots and lots and lots of stuff. So I'm going to move across to Microsoft Forms. I'm going to just very quickly show you what it can do from the Forms point of view, but then even more so what it can do about the integration with the rest of 365 point of view, because I think that's a key part of what it does. And towards the end, we might talk about some of the things coming up in Forms in the near future, and also some of the reasons why you may go, plump for something like Forms instead of, say, for example, Google Forms or SurveyMonkey or something like that. So as you can see here, this is a trial system, but as you can see here, I've got some forms already in place, and some of these forms we may look at in a minute. Some of them are expired, some of them, etc., etc. So let's have a look. When you go into Forms, and by the way, this menu is changing soon, so it'll look slightly different, and your forms will be listed in a row. It'll still have new form, new this, new that. But you've got two options. You've got a form or a quiz. So the big difference in that is with a quiz, and I'll show you both options in a minute, you can put answers in. So it is more designed for a knowledge check, or say education or anything like that, where you can actually put options in and somebody comes back and answers it, and when they answer it, it gives them a result, and then you can actually give a mark. So from a business point of view, that can be really, really useful for, as I said, knowledge checks. But let's have a quick look at Forms. When you go into a form, as soon as you start saving it, it actually saves automatically. It's like everything else that you get on the 365 platform. So we give it a name, and as we see up here, it's, I don't know what did that, automatically saving. So we can put a description in here. So you can put a whole big introduction to the form that you've got, the survey you've got, the questionnaire you've got, whatever you've got. Please fill this in. You can even put in information there about how you're going to use the data, for example. So I'm not going to add much here, and then I'm just going to show you the options here. So once we show you these options, they're pretty obvious. So we'll move again reasonably quickly through this a little bit. But you've got a basic option here around text. So if you've got a text question, you put your question in here, question 1, and then you give people the option for an answer. But what you've also got here is you've got things like whether you want people to have a long answer, so you give them more space to enter their data in, whether it's a required question, so whether it must be filled in, so that could be please enter your name. Down here, you've also got this. Anytime in Microsoft and lots of other websites that you see 3 dots, whether it's horizontal or vertical, that means more settings or more options. So when we do more options, we get 3 here. We get subtitle, restrictions, and branching. So let's have a look at the top 2, and we'll come back to branching. Subtitle, put something in here. So it gives you the option to explain your question, to explain what you want back from the person that that's filling in the survey, for some information in it, or even something like, please make sure you include and put all the information in there. So you've got that going on there. The other option is restrictions. So you can restrict it to be a number, and then you can go not equal to, greater than, less than. So the only restriction in this place is number. One of the things that they're bringing in is a restriction to look for an email. So it needs to have an at it, but it's not quite there yet, which is a slight irritation. But at least you've got that. So that's a standard one. Normal text question. You've also then got choice. Now choice is like option A, option B, yes, no, maybe, one of 6 options. And by the way, once you turn subtitle on, you got subtitle on them all. And I find that quite useful because in some questions I'm going to add a subtitle, in other questions I'm not. If I don't add a subtitle in, it just leaves it blank when the form's produced. We can start typing in yes, move to no, and Microsoft automatically thinks you're probably going to want no, don't you? So it kind of tries to give you some options for it. You can add options, so it could be a type A, type B, type C, and you can add an other option. Now, other gives them the option to type in what they want. So that's how did you hear about us? Google site, this, and the other, and the one at the bottom is other. It's not just check other, they actually check it and fill something in that box. And again, you've got the option for required. The other option you've here is multiple answers. So if it is something where somebody can give multiple answers, you can actually do that. You can change the order of them as well, just dragging them up and down. You can delete one of the answers if you want. So I don't want multiple answers in this one. On the drop down here, you get an option to shuffle the options. Shuffling the options is basically that. So again, if this is a quiz or a survey, or if it's a questionnaire that actually you have answers to, you can actually shuffle them to make it that it's not A, B, D, E. So again, that's more for a knowledge check, and you can change it to be a drop down. So a drop down menu will give you a yes, no, or one of the options, please choose from the below list. So it's a drop down rather than bullet points. Drop downs work really well when you've got a large list of items. Look at the other view. Date is exactly what it says in the tin. We don't need to do too much in that. What the format, they choose it from pressing the button. There's no real other options on it, so it's simple enough. We've got rating. Now, rating starts to become one of the rather good ones. You can actually put a question in and ask them to rate something. You can choose how many levels you want. So you can have up to 10 levels, and you can choose it to be a number or a star rating. So again, not overly difficult, exactly what it says in the tin. But you can put a label on. So star 1 is low quality, and star 5 is high quality. And when you publish this, that then shows the bottom and shows the top. And we'll show that in a minute when we actually preview it. So that's another one that we go in, but you've got a few more here. So these are the key ones that you use, but you can actually have these ones as well. Ranking. So again, if you've done any of the survey sites, you can put things in order. So when this gets published, you actually, the customer or the person that you're sending to, put in order, please. Allows you to move them up and down in order. So what is your priority in here? What was your most best experience? What was your worst experience? What is your most important thing about dealing with us? And so they can put that in there and you put your answers in. So again, that allows them to drag them up and down. Moving through them, you've got Likert, you've got file upload, you've got section, net promoter score. So Likert is the name for this. So I didn't know what it was, but it's you use these sort of things. You put a question in and you give people options. Now this allows you to do lots of questions. So you can put a series of questions in a row and you can get people to do good, bad, indifferent. So in here what we could do was poor. We could do and there we go. It gives us options. So we go fair and we'll go for good here. We'll go for very good and we'll use the word excellent. And you can obviously add your own over here as well. And then you put your statements in. And then as you put your statements in, I have no idea why it keeps popping this up. I'm not pressing anything. Once you put your statements in, that means that people can then choose those as they go. And you can have as many statements in this as you want. So you can put your statements in and that is that. So it's again a rather useful little tool. You also have your net promoter score, which how likely are you to respond. And finally, if you're doing an internal form, and it only unfortunately works internally at the minute, it is meant to be rolled out for externally, you can ask people to upload a file. Now, when I do this, it will actually tell us. So a new file is created in SharePoint. Files uploaded by the responders will be captured in this folder. Note the responder name and file details will automatically be recorded. So I'm going to go OK. And then we put in a question and we choose what sort of file they can upload, how many items it can be, and the size of the upload. And you can also choose what type of files that they allow to upload. So I'm going to take that out because it actually does restrict what we can do. when it comes to publishing it. But that's the key parts to a survey or a quiz. You've also got sections. So that would be to split it up a little bit. You can do section 1, section 2. Each section, you can give it a name. A few little things about how it looks before we move on to preview it. Up here, you can add an image. So you can add colors, you can add an image search, you can add something from your OneDrive. You can do all of that. And if you add images to it, it adds an image on this top question. And that allows you to put an image on that top question. On every single one of your questions as well, if you wanted to, you could insert media. So image or a little video on that. So you can actually link it to a stream or a YouTube video. So that allows you to, on the question, please watch this video and then answer the things below. And that can be either hosted in stream for internal or hosted at hidden channel on YouTube if you want. So you can actually break up, say, a video, that's training video, into small snippets, put it in a question, get them to answer the questions below as well. So this is a very, very simple test form. I'm going to change the theme. Again, with this, you can change the color. You can choose one of Microsoft's backgrounds, or again, you can choose your own image or your own color scheme for it. So again, that's quite simple when you start getting used to that theme button. So let's have a look at what it looks like. So if I hit preview, it shows me what it looks like on a computer. There we go, question 1. This is a subtitle. Enter your answer, and it shows me which ones are required. Now, down here, I didn't rename these, but it shows you that the rest of them don't have subtitles on them because I didn't choose to have subtitles on them. And there we go, the low quality and the high quality shown. We can drag and drop these and put them in the right order. So once you actually do your survey, you can preview it and you can even submit that data and see what happens with it. And you've got your questions here, your how likely, and then once you're moving from one section to the other, you press the next button. So these are all saying required, so it won't let me move on, which is okay. You can also see what it looks like on a mobile, because the form can be opened on mobile or computer. So that allows you to look at it. Simple enough again. Here are your options. If you come over to this side, you've got options. You can now print the form, so you can actually have it to look at. Multilingual doesn't change the text of the questions, but it actually changes things like enter your answer. So you can add multilingual to it. But settings is your key one here. Who can fill the form out? Do you want it just an internal form? If you want an internal form, you can make it internal. If you do it internal, you can add for upload for data from files, but you can't do that. You can decide that it's only one response per person. Here, you can actually change it for anyone with a link. Now, if you're doing anyone with a link, you can embed it, you can send it, you can do all that. But what you might want to do is do a few extra things. You might want to have a start date and an end date, or even an end date. You may want to shuffle the questions. You may want to show a progress bar so people know how far they are through the survey. And you can put a customized thank you message, because the automatic thank you message is that quite regularly, if I'm doing these, my thank you message will include a little bit about the data protection. This data is stored securely. If you want to know what more, then contact this and all that information. You can actually send an email response if you're capturing the data and you know who it is, and you can get email notifications of every response if you want to. You don't necessarily want to, but you can. I would use other ways of notifying me. You can then share it. Now, there's a number of ways of sharing it. You can share it to collaborate. So it gives you a link, you pass it on to somebody in your team, and they can update the form along with you, and it becomes a shared form that you both can use. You can send it as a link to duplicate, so you send it to somebody, they copy it into their forms environment, and then they can make something similar. So you're making one for your department, somebody says, that's a great form, can I have a copy of it? Well, there you go, there's a link, you can duplicate it. And here is the send and collect responses. So those two are useful for internal use. This one's here for sending out. So what do you want? Anyone with a link can respond, or only people in your organization? You can do that from here as well. There's your link. You can copy it. You can then shorten the URL, or you could put a click here or anything like that. There are other ways of doing it though. You can actually create a QR code. That QR code could be put on a poster, could be put on a flyer, could be put on a website, could be put on a A-frame board. You can also get the embed, which is used as iframe embed. So you can paste it into a web page, and that becomes part of your web page for doing it. And you can also send it as an email message. And so all of those are options for sending the results or sending the form out. On your form, you can also look at any responses that have come through, and you can open them in Excel, and you can actually get a summary and get a summary link. So even if somebody's not involved in capturing the information, you can actually give them a link to the summary of all the data that comes back. When it comes back, and let's go back out of this, when it comes back, Microsoft turns this into, where have I got responses for one? Oh, thanks. Microsoft turns this into, it uses Power BI to actually graphically represent some of your information on your forms. So very quickly, if I go to one of these forms that would only see at the very first bit, say a feedback survey that we did before, one of the last times, and there's 3 responses in here. And so there's a form I can look at, but here under the responses, it will actually give us 3 responses. I can review each answer, I can look at them one by one, but actually it gives us some graphics. So if you do more and more of these, you can actually pull your graphics out automatically. And so there we go, the feedback ones. Put in order, do you want any further comments? And so all of that is available as part of your responses. But then, as I said, you can open Excel, you can print a summary, or you can get a summary link. So you've got that. This form here is actually using the quiz bit. So it gives you a few more graphics in the background. I don't know why they haven't brought those into the normal forms yet, but I'm sure they will. It gives you a few different backgrounds, and just to show you, when you've actually got these sort of ones, you have the exact same, all the information there, but when you put it in, you can actually add a correct answer and decide how many points the person gets. And you can add math ones in as well. So that's the key difference in that sort of form. Talking about other forms, one of the other things that you might have seen there, if I go back to this feedback survey we've just looked at, and I'm going to make a change to it, because once you've done it, you can still tweak it and change it and over time. So if we wanted to, we could add a new section, but let me show you something else. You can actually do this thing called branching. You may have noticed this already, but one of the options here, and by the way, that allows you to have math in some of them in a quiz rather than just a normal form. This is an option called branching. Branching is like choose your own adventure, or what happens next. So what you can actually do is say, if somebody chooses this, you actually can choose to go to the end of the form. You can go to a different question. So you put all your questions in, and then you say, if somebody chooses yes, so even a simple one along the lines of, hey, have you, do you want to hear from us again? And if they say yes, it opens up a few more questions. Well, please give us your name and please give us your email address. If they say no, it jumps down to question 8, for example. So you can do that for anything that has a choice of what happens next, and you can even move to a new section because of that. So if you wanted to set up an internal form with people choosing something, whether it's an IT request or whatever, they could say choose this button. When they choose that, it jumps to that section and skips out all of the other sections. Those forms, as I said, right, so now we've talked about creating a form, we've talked about the responses you get from a form. Let's talk about some of the integration that you can get with forms. Excel allows you to create forms directly from here. So when you're in Excel online nowadays, you can actually create a form, and you can actually do that, insert, and you can insert a form. So either one that already exists or a new form, and then the input from that form comes immediately to your Excel sheet. So you could start from the Excel sheet and then create the form from there. So that's one option that you can do for it. You can now bring forms into your email. So if you go to insert, there's now a poll. The poll, the old version that they did with polls was quite like yes, no, okay. And you could do that under your options. But now if you hit poll, you can actually put loads of questions in and have a poll built straight into your email that goes out to people. And you can actually choose multiple answers, and you can add options, and you can put a simple poll into an email. You can do the same in Teams. So if you're used to using Teams these days, when you're sitting on Teams, you can go into a Teams channel or into a chat channel, and in one of your channels, you can come along here, and we've got one here called Forms and Teams. I could do new conversation, and there we go. I can insert a poll from here, and it uses forms and gets me to put a quiz in. So if you need quick answers to something among your team, you can do that. It's a voting type one. So those are useful. With your own teams, you can embed them directly into Teams. So if you've got a team in a channel, you can actually go plus, and this allows you to add things to your team's environment. And the plus here allows us to add forms. So we could choose a form, and we can choose either an existing form, or we could choose, I don't know why I clicked on lists, apologies. I can go here and I can choose forms, and I can choose an existing form, or I can try to create a new form for here, which is then available to all people in my team. But I've also got the option to have the results of forms come in. So if you've got a customer service form going out, I could come back into a team, the answers to that. So there's creating one, here's adding an existing one. When you add an existing one, you can collect responses, so get people to fill it in, or you can show the results. And the results is that tables and that information. So as results come in, it actually comes into your team channel automatically, and it posts about it immediately. So you can then go and look. Up here, I've got a few forms set up already. So I'm going to just show them here. Instead of the plus, we should have the drop-down menu. And we've got, say, for example, change information for HR. So a simple one I've done for a charity somewhere. I just brought it across here. Change your information. What am I looking to change? And here is, for example, the one that I said about moving. So if I click bank details, it now asks me the bank details information. If I click contact number, it actually does that. But it automatically knows who I am because it's internal. And I don't think we've added all the options to this, but that shows you how simple it is to have the questions changing when somebody chooses something different. And then that gets submitted through and it can go to the right people. When we talk about this, feedback, so this is the responses coming through to Teams. That's the one that we looked at earlier about the response survey. And that information is coming straight through to Teams. You don't need to go anywhere to get it, and you can look at all your responses. We've even got one here, which we maybe don't have time to show, but you can actually embed your your forms. You can embed them straight into Microsoft Stream, which is your internal video platform. So you can actually have a video, and when you go to Stream, you can embed different quizzes at different points in the video. So the video stops, the form pops up, people fill it in, it submits through, and it's a type of knowledge check, or in a way, you can actually set it up that at the end, they fill in their data, and you can capture that they've actually done that form, and they've filled in that, and they've watched it. So if I press that, we could start a video, and after about 6 seconds, it would pop up and ask me a question. I'll give you a sample of something that that I've actually implemented. I was at a restaurant over here back in June, and they had a QR code outside. You scanned it, it opened the web page, and you put your data in. So I said that's easy to do. So I made one in Forms. It's connected through to a SharePoint list, and that SharePoint list captures the people's information and keeps it for 21 days. And that's done using the Power Automate. Now we've got videos on Power Automate, which is workflows on YouTube with Affinity guys, and if you want to know more, you can ask us. But basically, one of the ways that you can use this is you can get the responses from a form and you can email it automatically to someone, or you can update an Excel list, or you can update a database, or you can do what we've done and you put it in a SharePoint list, and then that's done automatically. And as a response to that form, you can then send a reply back to a customer if they click a certain one. So a customer can actually come and fill something in through a form, and then they automatically get emails sent out with information that they requested. So that's possible as well. So this was a simple COVID capture form, but that could be opened through a barcode scanner as well. To give you a sample of where that is, over here, we've got a few, there we go. There was the customer service list that was filled in. I don't know why I spelled it with customer, and that shows us that the data was captured in this list. That list was brought through from a Microsoft form using the Power Automate. The same with the COVID information. Now, there's no information here because I set this up properly, and it automatically deletes the information after 21 days. So it captures your information and then automatically deletes it. And you can even embed it in a SharePoint site. So you can actually put your, I don't know if we've done it here, but there we go. Yes, there's the same form, and that form or that list is there, but you can actually embed in a SharePoint intranet site forms. So if you've got finance requests, if you've got anything like that, those can be made available directly into your SharePoint sites, your internal lists. So all of those things are available with forms. There's other ones that we've submitted through, and we've used another form to do so, just as a test form to show, and that then came through to SharePoint lists. So that's most of the key things about forms. What they're doing, the things that they want to bring through is they want to bring through the ability to have capture and grab files from external, but obviously what they need to embed into that is making sure that people aren't uploading viruses or dodgy files or anything like that. So that's a bit of a security one that they're working on. They've recently updated a lot of stuff to do with phishing and anything like that, and data coming in that is rubbish data, like any sort of web capture form. And they're constantly tweaking and improving what it does. But the big changes that they're doing, they're embedding it everywhere. It's in Excel, it's in Teams, it's in Outlook, it's available on web pages, whatever else, it's coming that way. The other thing about it is, obviously, you can then tell people, and you can actually go onto your 365 admin portal, but you can actually tell people when they come along to use forms, and on the form, you can tell people that it's GDPR compliant. If you've got G Suite, for example, that's fine. Otherwise, your Google Forms are actually, the data is transferred to America if it's a personal account. It's not stored in the UK and it's not stored in the EU. So that might be okay if it's not personal data. But if it's personal data, you've got to make sure you know where it is. Forms comes as part of your Microsoft 365 subscription. You're not paying extra for it, but your data is actually stored in the UK when you use it. So I think I've covered most things. We're open for a few minutes if you want to ask any questions, if you want to make any comments. I don't want to repeat stuff for the sake of it, but there we go. That's Microsoft Forms.
There's a couple of things on the chat. If you can just have a brief look there, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Top one with regard to personalising the link for the branding.
Andrew, you're looking at personalising the whole URL or just part of it?
It'd just be part of it, Rich. You know, so instead of saying Microsoft Forms ... it might say fresh form, then a few dots in it or whatever. You know, just so it's a bit more personalised.
All you need to do is use one of the URL shorteners.
Oh, like Bitly or one of those.
Yeah, but with Bitly, and Bitly's one of them, but there's other ones as well. With those ones, you can actually pay, I don't think it actually costs that much. You can actually pay a small amount of money, and you can actually get your own branding at Bitly. So there's a bit of admin that you connect it to your domain, which your IT people will know about. But actually, then that means that you can actually shorten any sort of web pages, including these, and it'll actually be a Bitly link, but it'll actually have your domain in it.
There's two things you can do with it. The free version. Sorry, Andrew. Go on.
No, sorry, go on, Rich.
Well, there's two things you can do on Bitly. So you can have a free Bitly, which you put Bitly / and then you can actually edit the kind of, so you can put Bitly / affinity questionnaire, for example. Right. But the premium version of it, you can actually change it, and I've seen football clubs doing this too. So you actually, the front end of the Bitly becomes something like, you know, footballclub.ly or something like /. So you can bespoke that bit.
Okay, interesting.
So an answer to the other one, a poll can't. If you're putting a poll in, you can't do an upload of images. Upload of images currently is only internal, but even with polls are designed as, say, a single question for an immediate response for, say, 3 or 4 bits of that. If you want to do otherwise, you embed, you give them a link, or you embed it into an internal Teams or an internal intranet page or anything like that. That's where you would put the ones where you need to capture and get images put up. Andrew, as well, all responses, if they're internal, they're not. So if you're actually asking for an internal survey and you make it internal only, it will automatically capture people because it's asked people to log in. If it's external, it is anonymous unless you ask them for their data. So if you ask somebody for their name or email address, obviously it's not. Otherwise, I don't even think you can get an IP address or anything from it. So it can be completely anonymous.
Okay. I was thinking more for Courtney on HR. So say if she wanted to do like a company-wide survey, but she wanted more people to fill it in, so she wanted to make it anonymous. Is there a way to do that?
What you do is you use the external one. So the external allowed to be filled in by anyone, then you just send them the link. The only thing you got to watch for is maybe you do it over a period of time. Well, people aren't probably going to send it to external people or post it somewhere where you get completely random capture of information. But yes, if you make it that anyone can fill it in, then it becomes completely anonymous.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
The way I do that, and you'll see the feedback form in a bit. I'll ask for your name, company name, and make it a what's the right word to use where you have to put it in. I can't think of the right word, but yeah, mandatory. Thank you. Where you have to put a mandatory, you have to put it in. You have to fill it in on the form. So.
But if you don't put those questions in, then it is in a purely anonymous form.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. I had another question as well. You know, when you get the visuals for the polls, what options do you have to export them? So say if I wanted to put the visuals in a PowerPoint presentation, is there any way to, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's have a look.
I think I'm pretty sure you can open it in Excel, can't you? I know that much.
You can open this in Excel, but with these here, can we, you can save image.
All right, yeah, okay, that's cool.
So you can save the image. The other way, if you wanted to do it in, is use screenshot. If you needed a snipping tool with it, but you can actually just save it the image. I don't know if it just takes that or this bit. I would guess that it just takes this bit. This is actually using they've just embedded Power BI with it, but it gives you the option that there we go, and we can even see. Oh, there you go, anonymous survey responses. So it's even picked up that these are anonymous responses. So yeah, you can save the images.
Can you edit the visuals in Power BI if you wanted different ones for certain questions?
You could, but it wouldn't show it here. What you would need to do would be open it in Excel and connect that Excel to your Power BI.
Right, okay.
Because your responses all come through, or capture them all through Automate, put them all in, say, a SharePoint list, and then use your SharePoint list as your base for your Power BI.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and then obviously as much as you want to make your visuals and change them from that point.
Are there any templates to use? So say if you wanted to put
not that I've seen that much. No, I wouldn't be surprised if you Googled and found some templates, because even there's a great Microsoft have quite a good community out there, but templates isn't something that they've really brought in yet to forms. They keep bringing them in other places, like for example, lists have recently been released, and there's loads of templates for that. They've now even got templates for Teams, but they haven't done templates for forms yet. Okay. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Right, if that's everybody, anybody got any more questions or no? Okay, well, thank you, Viv. As a regular say, Viv proper knows his onions on forms and most of Microsoft 365 products without a doubt. So it's a real kind of font of knowledge.